Welcome everyone to The Theorist with your host, JC Botero67, and today we're going to have another long review on Chapter 10 of Revelations. It starts off with Claude and Aloise. They had another study session, and you know what else that involved too. And basically Aloise is kind of thinking to himself at one point like, oh, everything's perfect, Claude's this great guy, and, you know, things are going well. But then he realizes, okay, Ciel still doesn't trust him, still doesn't like him. And then he comes up with this idea about a double date. Because Ciel hasn't really interacted much with Claude, and that's what Aloise thinks is needed for them to end up getting along. So I'm going to read this quote real quick, and then we'll get to Aloise's brilliant idea. So this is Claude's thinking after Aloise is like, oh yeah, like Ciel doesn't like you, I think he needs to get to know you better. Claude could care less if Ciel Phantom Hive liked him or not. He was just their target, another human like the other two to be slaughtered and done away with before he could tip the scales in Heaven's favor. So the latter he would, of course, be Ciel. But then I was thinking, okay, who would the other two sacrifices be? I mean, it could be Aloise, especially if he is a vital part to the plan, as Sebastian had mentioned in a previous chapter. And then I even thought about Spears. You know, he knows about Ciel's soon-to-come evolution, and, you know, I could see him playing a vital part, because I think he's more than just, like, your average human priest. So maybe he's another sacrifice. That doesn't necessarily mean that Aloise and Spears are the sacrifices. There could be other characters out there who would potentially be these two sacrifices, and not necessarily Aloise or Spears. So, something to think about. You know, I want to know what you guys think, like who these other two human sacrifices would be to help Hell triumph over Heaven. So now moving on to Aloise's brilliant idea, it's a double date. And so Claude's kind of like, oh, like, this is so dumb. I don't know. Because he likes Aloise, I guess, but he's basically using him. And sometimes, I know a quote in the story was that, oh, every time Aloise comes up with a great idea, it's not that great. But then Claude gets to thinking, and he's like, oh, I could, like, really mess with Sebastian during this double date. So, you know, we'll kind of see what he does, because, you know, it's like Sebastian at the time probably won't be able to do anything, but then after the double date, he'll get back at him and punish him some way, somehow. So, something to look forward to, especially like any interaction that would happen between Claude and Ciel. But anyway, we'll move on to the next scene in the story, which was Ciel Sebastian. They're kind of just hanging out around campus and being all lovey-dovey, and they've basically made it official. You know, they're like officially boyfriends, and they're going out on like more dates and stuff. At least that's what they're trying to aim for, and, you know, not just keep it as like, oh, you're my makeout buddy and whatnot. So it's nice to see their relationship progressing. And then we come to Lizzie suddenly shouting out Ciel's name, running toward him, all pissed off. Ciel, of course, is a little bit confused, but then he starts to realize, oh, I know the reason why she's upset with me right now, which is basically the fact that he used Lizzie to be able to duel against Dagger in a fencing match. And so eventually, like, Ciel's like, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But then Lizzie's kind of like, oh, you know, he has good taste, and, you know, I'll give it a chance, pretty much. And it's funny because Ciel's kind of like, oh yeah, like, he hinted twice at, oh, getting something nice for their wedding or something. So I thought about it and was like, okay, what if the end of the story has a marriage and it's between Lizzie and Dagger? So that's something to look forward to. I don't know if you guys agree. Probably. And then we come to the ever-anticipated meeting between William and Sebastian. At first, when they were interacting, I don't know why, but I was almost tempted to say that they may have known each other from before. Of course, that's not really possible. I mean, later on in their interactions, it doesn't seem that way. But, you know, maybe they did know each other? I mean, Sebastian is over 1,000 years old, as was mentioned in a previous chapter, I'm pretty sure. And maybe he knew the predecessor of Will's soul. I don't know, it just was a random thought that came to mind after reading their interaction. And then even thinking about it right now, if Will is one of those sacrifices that they're going to take, then it would make sense if Sebastian kind of knew him from before. So there's that. And then Sebastian, being the troublemaker that he is, hints at certain emotions, at a certain pairing that I freaking love. So it's probably bad for me to say this, but I did enjoy the teasing that Sebastian did to William. And so here's a little snippet of that scene. And it's a little condensed too, because I didn't want to have the awkward pauses. So this was Sebastian. We'll start off with him. Or maybe you want me to leave Ciel alone so that you can have him all to yourself, And then William responds, "What? How dare you suggest such a disgusting thing? Ciel has been under my supervision since the age of 10. To say that I could see him as anything other than an innocent youth is revolting. Your mind must be truly perverse to conjure up such an image. I am a man of God, and have taken a vow of celib," to which then Sebastian cuts him off and says, "All the more reason you would fantasize about making Ciel yours." So Sebastian keeps fueling this, infuriating Ciel more and more. Ciel, god damn it. Infuriating Spears more and more. And I'm just kind of like, oh, please, Sebastian, I hope that what you say comes true and you get screwed over. Because I really like the Ciel Spears pairing. But, of course, in this story, it's not going to happen. And Anime Kujo said that herself. But, you know how it is, where sometimes you'll tell somebody, oh, don't do this, and they'll do it anyway. So I was thinking, what if there is a brief Ciel Spears pairing moment that Anime Kujo is negating? Because she negated it twice, so it could potentially happen, but of course that's not what the end pairing would be. But, I trust that it won't happen. It'd be too weird. But there could be a possibility of Sebastian gaining control of Spears' dreams. And, yeah. Because I'm recalling a chapter where I think he almost wanted to give Ciel a nightmare of some sort, or he actually did. I don't know where I came up with that, but I think that did happen. So that's why I'm thinking, okay, the pairing isn't going to be legit, but it could be part of a dream or something. So, I don't know, just a random thought to throw out there. Because you know how I am with my theories, I like to come up with random stuff sometimes, even though I do like to take it seriously. So that's more of like a joke theory on my end. But what I do take seriously is the fact that after that meeting, Spears sets down to pray that Ciel will evolve sooner. And this is contrary to what he wanted, because he was worried that, okay, Ciel is showing more symptoms of a prompter evolution, and that's not what we needed. But now he's starting to realize that, yes, it is very vital. And so this basically led me to think that the reason why Ciel needs to be at the church on his birthday at 11:30 p.m. is because he will undergo the evolution at midnight. And, he basically needs someone to kind of talk to him about it and, kind of let him know before the evolution happens, to kind of guide him after it happens, and, how to control it. Because I'm pretty sure, as most of us are predicting, Ciel will become an angel. And so, he might need help with, how to hide the wings and just get this whole explanation of his potentially having inherited that from his father and, being the chosen one to save humanity. And so the best person to do that is Spears. So that is why it would be vital for him to go to the church a little bit before the evolution takes place. And of course, if he's out and about in public or, even just at home, it would be a little disconcerting and worrisome for him to be undergoing that evolution where he can be seen I don't think I touched base on this in previous reviews, but I also did want to say that maybe Madame Red has an idea of the symptoms that Ciel is going through potentially being connected to the fact that he is to become an angel. So there's that I had wanted to say before. Didn't get around to it, but this time I did. And I do want to end with one last thing, because I had mentioned in the past 2 or 3 reviews that, okay, something's going to happen to the Phantom Hive estate. Madame Red could be in there and dies, or, is just kind of in danger there. Same with Ciel, potentially. So I was thinking, okay, Ciel could undergo the evolution during that time, and, who needs Sebastian? Ciel can totally handle this. Whether he does become an angel, or, as I had mentioned in another review, the second coming of Christ, or, whatever he becomes and whatever abilities he gains from that evolution, he could potentially save himself and his aunt. So this concludes the review and predictions video for Chapter 10 of Revelations. Again, I encourage you to share your theories so we can compare and contrast and kind of come up with what we think will happen down the road in the next few chapters. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next review.